All right, I guess we should get started. Welcome to our first LinkedIn Live. All right, hello everyone. I'm so glad you're here. I am Liane Caruso. I'm a fractional CMO and founder of Hello CMO, and also founder of Hello Mastermind, a peer advisory group created specifically for executive franchise professionals, and also co-founder of Franchise Assembly. We launched this community because so many of us in the franchise space are looking for a trusted circle, a place to ask questions, get inspired, and stay on the pulse of what's working in marketing, development, and leadership. And that's exactly what Hello Mastermind delivers. We have virtual meetings and in-person retreats for CEOs, executive franchise marketers, executive fran dev, and supplier partners. So if you're interested in learning more about Hello Mastermind, please visit hello-mastermind.com. So all that to say, we have so many smart minds in the group. So I thought it would be best if we could highlight them in a live webinar session covering hot topics, whether it be from social media, marketing, leadership, or franchising. And today we're focusing on LinkedIn. As many of you know, I'm frustrated with LinkedIn. I think a lot of people are frustrated with LinkedIn. So we're going to cover a lot today. We have probably a full hour, but we're going to leave room for questions. So here's what to expect. We're going to talk about video, AI, and smart content formatting to boost visibility, posting strategies, timing, frequency, engagement, and what really works, how to build a strong, authentic community, not just post for showing up intentionally on LinkedIn. So now, without further ado, I will introduce you to our very, very smart panel. First, a good friend of mine, Brooke Janousek. Brooke is the CMO of GarageExperts, bringing over 20 years of experience in brand building and revenue-driving marketing strategies. She's led growth for startups and legacy brands alike, including Disney, Bridgestone, and GE. As the founder of the Grow CMO, Brooke made fractional marketing leadership more accessible. Known for her dynamic leadership and genuine approach, she thrives on connection and results. And then we've got Chantel Sumis. Trained by some of the brightest minds in marketing and communications, Chantel brings unwavering optimism to over 80,000 followers on LinkedIn. Go follow her right now. As a marketing thought leader, fractional CMO, and disability advocate. Chantel has worked with SMBs to major enterprises, including Fortune 1000 clients, and has received international honors such as the Universal Women's Network Woman of Inspiration, the Golden Mike Award, LLS Visionary of the Year runner-up, and Brava Magazine's Woman to Watch. When she's not on LinkedIn, you can find her playing soccer with her two boys, Jack and Otto, glamping with the family, or enjoying some cookie cake. All right, welcome to both of you. But before we get started, a few housekeeping notes. If you have questions, please put them in the chat. We will have time for questions at the end. We will share the presentation with you after if you registered for the event. Make sure that you connect with the three of us on LinkedIn. And if you have any ideas for future topics, please do let me know. All right, we'll get started because we have so much to cover. So Chantel, I'll let you take it from here and talk about the state of LinkedIn as of April 2025.
Thank you, Liane. And first of all, thank you so much for hosting this session. I think this is going to offer so much value, and it's an honor to be alongside you incredible humans. LinkedIn is a wild place. And speaking of wild, it was known as the Wild West of social media for quite some time. And it's starting to finally get its sea legs and figure things out. Microsoft purchased the platform back in, I don't have my notes in front of me, 2016, 2015, and everything started to shake up. It started to encourage a lot more younger creators to join the platform as the job seeking and the recruiting side of things continued to ramp up. And then they offered and unrolled the video capabilities, which was really exciting, but also terrifying for a lot of employees and employers seeing these video content pieces coming out. And at 1.1 billion registered members as of January is huge. That's a lot of worldwide members, with approximately 70 million new members just within the last year. That's crazy. Can you go to the next? Thank you so much. All right, so this is a few other statistics that are worth noting, that only 1% of LinkedIn's monthly users share content weekly. So if you're sharing content every week, you're automatically a top performer. You're on the top 1%, which it's never been easier to be the top 1% of anything. Video uploads grew 34% year over year, and viewership also increased 36%. A lot of that has to do with the updates and your user experience. where now when you're scrolling, you can see multiple videos side by side to take a look at, just like you would on Instagram or TikTok. You can also swipe up now where you couldn't before. That's a big improvement that keeps people engaged and viewing videos. There's also a new publisher program. So a lot of folks have the blue check mark now, or the blue in, right? And those are people who are actively getting trained on all of the updates of the platform, what's fresh, what's new, some insider secrets, and tips and tricks on how to be a power user on LinkedIn. Engagement trends are continuing to show us that images are very engaging, and especially carousel images. That's not on this slide, but it's worth noting that carousels, and we'll get to it later, have an extremely high engagement rate. And video posts are 20 times more likely to be shared, which I thought was pretty compelling, especially because videos are that engagement level, you almost need to commit to it more than an image to share.
So with these stats that Chantel just shared, it is really quite clear that personal branding has become less of a competitive edge and more of a requirement. And so that's what I assume you're all here to listen to us talk about today. And there's just a couple things to reiterate this point. So building your personal brand on LinkedIn positions you as an industry expert. It helps build trust and authority. It humanizes you, but then also the brand that you're representing as well. Whether you're an entrepreneur or you have a full-time W-2 job, you putting yourself out there is humanizing both of those brands. And it also strengthens brand reputation, not only your personal brand reputation, but your corporate brand reputation as well. And so there are 4 pillars that I like to kind of abide by, I should say, as far as personal branding on LinkedIn. And I don't know if you can go to the next slide, Liane, or maybe there's a lag, but the 4 pillars of personal branding are authenticity, expertise, consistency, and engagement. Now, I will say this is not cited from anywhere, like LinkedIn didn't publish this article anywhere. This is just kind of my take and what I have seen work for me and others on LinkedIn. So I just kind of want to dive into these a little bit further. So let's talk about authenticity first. And I will say authenticity is one of those words that gets thrown around a lot. People say you need to be authentic, you need to be, more real. What does that really mean? And one of the things that I've learned, especially if you look at the next slide, is authenticity in your posts really starts to resonate more with the audience. So for example, if I have found content like sharing failures and what you learned from that failure performs very well. That's real. People scroll through this platform and any platform looking for something that they can relate to. And they don't really get that on TikTok or Instagram, let's be honest. On those platforms, they're seeing a lot of things that are aspirational. They want to, have that workout routine so they look a certain way, or they want to be able to make a cake a certain way, or all of those things are very aspirational. And you see some of that on LinkedIn as well. But what we're really craving is relatability. So something that gets you scroll stopping on LinkedIn is like, hey, I screwed up and here's what I learned from it. Or here's the biggest mistake, or I turned down my dream job, here's why. Those types of posts perform very well. And even showing like yourself in a vulnerable state can also help elevate the post a little bit. One thing that I do, this is a little hack that just kind of came to me one day, but people will say to me, hey, like your posts sound like you're talking. How do you do that? And what I do is honestly, a lot of my posts come to me as I'm walking my dog. So I'll be walking my dog and I'll start thinking about topics or something that I want to talk about, and I will record a voice memo. So basically, like I'm talking to a friend or I'm giving a presentation, I will record that post. And then what I'll do is I'll take that transcription, put it into, I think, Fireflies, or people use Otter, any of those things that will transcribe for you. And then I clean it up. So that's kind of how I got used to writing like I sound. So that's kind of my little trick that I like to tell people. The other thing that you can do, if you've been posting on LinkedIn for a while, what I did was I took my top 10 performing posts, I copied and pasted them into ChatGPT, and I said, analyze these posts and tell me what my voice is. So if you don't have a lot of posts on LinkedIn, don't worry. You could take emails that you've sent to people. You could take any presentation that you've crafted, any sort of writing, if you've written blogs, put that into ChatGPT and say, analyze my voice and tell me what my voice is. So moving forward, what you can do is after you've written your post, you can kind of gut check it against that GPT, and you can say, hey, is this on brand for Brooke Janousek? Is this on brand for Liane Caruso? Those are kind of the ways that I like to hack the authenticity piece. And Chantel, I know you have another comment here on the authenticity piece.
Absolutely. I think, Liane, there we go. Okay. So thank you so much. So when we're talking about authenticity, right, you want to know how much to share, especially if you're an employee representing another brand. You want to make sure that what you're doing is tactful and like no 5 alarm fires are going to come up. And one example is, I don't know who remembers the crying CEO. That's an image here, and I use this as an example all the time. And the reason why is this gentleman went viral because he was feeling very, 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 very vulnerable, very overwhelmed with emotions one day. And right when he was in the thick of things of his journey, he shared that he had to let go of 200 employees and was feeling terrible about it. Well, the 200 employees are probably even more upset about what happened, So at that time, it wasn't the right move to share it. And it got a lot of heat. It went viral across many news platforms, and it was kind of distasteful. And so I like to share the trick of what authenticity is by sharing vulnerability versus oversharing. Oversharing is when you're in the thick of things and you're like, talk about like the storm, right? You're in the storm. You haven't quite gotten out to really reflect on it and share the valuable takeaways that everybody's going to learn and grow from. Where being vulnerable is offering that value. You're sharing, yeah, I messed up, or this was terrible, and no CEO should ever have to do this to their employees, and make it about their employees, not necessarily about you. It's not necessarily a journal. We can journal on our notebooks, our notepads about that. But really and truly, the most value that people will get and the more support that you will receive is when you're offering that creative insight that will help people.
Mm-hmm. I agree. That was, you hit the nail right on the head with the vulnerability. I had a post, I think 2 weeks ago that went semi-viral, and my opening line was, I feel dumb. And that was literally something I said on a call with our ad agency, because we were going through multi-touch attribution reporting, and I just could not wrap my head around why Google Analytics was saying one thing and our ERP was saying another. And I blurted out, I feel dumb. And so I blogged. So I posted about that on LinkedIn, and I got so many comments and I got so many DMs of saying it's refreshing that a C-suite person admitted that they don't know everything. Thank you for your vulnerable share. And then I basically summarized, like, here's what I learned from it. So all of the things that you just said, vulnerable, people can relate to it, but then it wasn't really an overshare. And I didn't send off any alarms. Like, I do go through those checklists, like you said, but it's a good distinction because we all have seen the overshares too. So that's a really good call out.
Thank you. Yes, I have my example here of one time that I shared something personal, and it waffled that line of oversharing versus vulnerability, but I tried to make it as valuable as possible. And it was me just sharing about my service dog and what it means to have a service dog living with multiple sclerosis, vision impairment, and a little pal that's always by my side. So he used to travel with me. You'd see him at events. You'd see him at meetings, corporate meetings. And it's, it kind of takes the sting away when you just put it out there and people get it and they see it. So then they don't have to ask those uncomfortable questions because they already know about it, which is really nice.
And the value piece is a good segue into the next pillar. So if you take one thing away from the entire LinkedIn Live today, is LinkedIn rewards valuable content. So creating that value for everybody, and we're going to give you some tips on how to do that. But we want people to think that we're qualified. We want people to think that we have the expertise. And so I'm going to give you some ideas of how you can position yourself as that thought leader. So the next slide kind of shows 3 examples of expertise that I have plucked from the LinkedIn gods. And some of these people you definitely know, but there are people that are doing a really good job explaining and showcasing their expertise. And one thing that we'll talk about here in a second is kind of how you can determine that list of what you should be talking about. But Patty Rother had a really good post a couple months ago about franchise development. And so this was a really good thought leadership post. And then Tim Vogel, who is the founder of a franchisor called Scenthound, I really like how he showcases success stories of his franchisees. And so he is demonstrating, the brand and the value that his brand is providing. And there's a little bit of franchise development here going on, but he's also highlighting a franchisee in the way that he posts it. And then Liane had a great post about trends in franchising and just like, hey, let's have a debate, or let's talk about a hot debate. Should we have different URLs, separate sites, all of that. So anything that is trending, or you can spark a discussion and you can be the one that starts that conversation, really helps demonstrate your expertise. And so on the next slide, we can talk about, okay, how do we basically think about what do I want to talk about? So that's another thing that people say all the time is, okay, I've gotten over the hump on how to be vulnerable. I think I'm going to do this, but now what do I talk about? So kind of here are some questions that I like to guide people down the road of, okay, what would you talk about? So think about you're at a party and somebody says, hey, like, what are you passionate about? Or what is something that you feel comfortable you could talk about for hours with individuals? So, write that down on a piece of paper. Okay, for me, I feel comfortable talking about branding. I feel comfortable talking about personal growth. I feel comfortable talking about brand pairs. These are things that I feel passionate about, and therefore it comes across more relatable and more less contrived, I should say, because I already know about these things. I don't talk about things that I don't have a lot of expertise in, because I have things to learn and I don't want to just be hopping on some sort of trend for the sake of it. So think about what you're passionate about. What do you feel you have expertise in? I just had a post yesterday. I feel like I have expertise in brand building and lead generation, but I do not have expertise in e-commerce. So I'm not going to talk a lot about e-commerce. I'm going to talk about the fact that I have a deficiency there. And as a leader, I can admit that, and I'm going to go seek out resources, but I'm not going to do a bunch of posting on e-commerce. So hopefully that makes sense there. What are some current events or stories that you have an opinion about? Always look at the top news in the right hand of your feed on LinkedIn. Is there anything there that catches your eye that you want to talk about and have an opinion about, and that you feel like you can create a good conversation around? That's always a good start. LinkedIn also has editors that are constantly mining things. And so if you have a really good commentary on a current event, you could get boosted that way. What are some personal stories? We've talked about vulnerability, relatability, authenticity. Personal stories are relatable. So what is something, I learned as a 20 or something in an ad agency, I had a pretty big failure. That was a fun story to share and what I learned from it. So people love relating to personal stories. If you're in a sales role or franchise development role, what are the steps in your sales process, or what's the customer journey? Those are, if you have 5 steps in your sales process to becoming a franchisee, for example, those are 5 posts right there. Those are some really good things, like break down kind of some insider information within your company that you can share. You're already an expert about it because you're living it every single day, but others need to know about it. And then if you're totally stuck, there's a ChatGPT prompt here that you can take a screenshot of. And I want to be really clear here, and we're going to talk about this in our key takeaways. LinkedIn does not want AI generated posts. And I'll say that again, they do not reward AI written posts. So this prompt is to help you get ideas for topics to post, but it's not going to write the post for you. So this is something you can take a screenshot of, but you want to train ChatGPT and give it a role. So if you say you are this, who I need you to do this, it will help it learn what you want to do. So think about that. Insert what your role is. Think about how you want to establish your authority and attract whomever you want to attract in your audience. And then let it give you some topics. Let it give you 10, 20, 30. Ask for as many as you want. And then you can hone in on what you want to talk about, what you feel comfortable talking about, and then go from there. Okay, the third pillar, consistency. So there's a lot of myths flying around about how often you should post and things like that. Basically, the insider info that we have is 3 times a week will do the job, and trying, if you can, to post in the mornings. That really does make a difference in the algorithm and rewarding what you do. And if you think about it, that's usually when people are most active. They get to work, they have their coffee, they're trying to get into their day a little bit, and they're just scrolling and seeing what's going on. I have built my following organically by posting every day. I'm not saying that you have to do that, but at least 3 times a week will get the job done for you. And also, think of it as an investment. You do have to put in the work if you want to see the rewards coming from this. And so you're not going to just have one viral post and think that you're going to get 80,000 followers. You have to consistently provide that valuable content that people want to keep coming back for.
So I obsess over neuroscience. Understanding consumer psychology just blows my mind. And when I was diving into social influence and really what makes people feel connected, what creates that cult following, is mirror neurons. So mirror neurons were discovered by behavioral scientists in the 1990s. And it's really your brain's empathy Wi-Fi. So they don't just fire when we do something, but it's when we watch someone else do it. We're mirroring their behavior and they're mirroring ours, or so we feel. So that's basically why you feel like the main character of your favorite Netflix series when you're watching it and you're 3 episodes deep and you're rooting for them like crazy. That's the same thing with social media. When you put out your content and you're showing up consistently, you're activating your audience's mirror neurons. So that's basically when they laugh, you see them laugh, it makes you feel happy, right? Or when they hit that really incredible piece of news and it gives you chills, again, that's that connection. So consistency digs so much deeper than we believe. It's a scientific fact that when you do show up consistently, people rely on you, and it builds that innate trust. And a couple suggestions where you can show up. Maybe you don't have a photographer. Maybe you're insecure and you don't want to stand in front of the camera or share your own photos. You can use AI and tools to help you with that. Again, LinkedIn's kind of the Wild West. You can do with it what you want to do and what makes you comfortable. For example, I created AI headshots with a tool called Aragon, and I love them, and they look incredible. They're so much more realistic than Rimini. You don't have an extra finger, and it does break through the feed. People see you, and then they connect with you because you're a real human. This shows that also it's important to show up because 82% of employees are more likely to trust a company when leadership is active on social media. That means that we all have our own responsibility to show up and build that trust, to establish these connections, this brand awareness, and this overall community. And 77% of consumers prefer to buy from companies where executives engage online. So, from a lead generation and pipeline filling standpoint, if you want to generate leads and build your business through LinkedIn, consistency and executive alignment are everything.
All right, last pillar. So we've gone through authenticity, we've gone through consistency, we've gone through expertise, and now we're on engagement. So there are some myths floating around, and actually listening to a podcast this morning, they validated some of these things, that LinkedIn does want you to also engage with your network. So don't post and ghost, like actually post and stick around after you post to engage with the comments. One of the things that I like to do is I like to prime the pump before I post. And so I have on the apps, gosh dang it, on the notes app on my phone, I have a list of 10 people that I hit every day on LinkedIn. And I go and I have thoughtfully curated why I want to talk, post on these posts and whatnot. So I will go and comment on all of their posts, and they're thoughtful comments. They're not just like AI generated, or it's not like, hey, I agree. It's like an actual thoughtful comment, because everybody that's reading that sees you now as, oh, she's provided some value as well, and she is a thought leader. I want to go follow her. So actively engage with the people that you want in your orbit. Maybe there's some prospects that you've been eyeing, or maybe there's just somebody you respect and that you're just like, gosh, I love everything that Cody Sanchez says. I'm going to comment on all of her posts. But also engage with your first connections as well. So making sure that you're doing that. I usually do this for about half hour before I post. And then LinkedIn's like, oh, she's active. Here we go. Then after I post, I stick around so I can engage with the comments. I did hear on a podcast today that somebody batches how she engages. So she'll post, stick around, and then at noon she checks again. At the end of the day, she checks again. I don't know if all of us have that amount of time, but I do stick around to make sure that I can engage with the comments. And you can see the example on the screen. My friend Jeremy, shout out to Jeremy. If you're not following Jeremy Tunis, you should. He's a great, I think he's got I forget how many thousands of followers he's got, but he's a great fractional PR person. And he posted about Turo back in January, when there was an unfortunate incident with a Turo car in New Orleans. And so you can see, you have to hit the more button to see my comment. Like, that was not AI generated. It was not like thoughtful post, Jeremy. Like, I actually commented. So that's what we mean when it's like engage thoughtfully. Videos we'll talk about here in a little bit. LinkedIn is trying to combat all of that AI generated content. So they are favoring videos more and more. They have publicly said that. Other people are saying, yes, we see that. But again, the key here is valuable content. Make sure you're sticking out. And I don't want to steal all of Chantel's thunder, but make sure you're sticking out. Your thumbnails are thoughtfully curated. You're not just a talking head. Mix it up. Go to a warehouse. If, like, I'm using a warehouse as an example because there's a warehouse behind me. Do some full length body shots, things like that that are different than just the talking head for your videos. And then from an engagement standpoint, see what works for you. Test post length and format. I have had posts that were 2 lines that went gangbusters, and I've had posts that were really long that went gangbusters. And for me, it always comes down to the value of the content, less about how long my post was, how many emojis I used, things like that. So kind of play around. And again, the headline is, was your content valuable? Oh, Jeremy, sorry. Different Jeremy, but shout out to you too.
Thanks so much, Brooke. Engagement is everything. I think a lot of people confuse that. Like, I need to create all this content. That's where the momentum comes from. But it's usually in the comment section where people want to connect with you and follow you and understand your content as well, or reciprocate the love that you left for them. I'm just going to cover a couple different kinds of posts really quickly and what makes a great performing post based on over 20,000 reviews, I guess, of what the top performing posts, I should say. So for images, one of the things, it's the bottom bullet point here, but anything trending, jump on the bandwagon, just play with it, have fun with it. People are engaging on it while it's hot, and then it can grow stale really quickly. So if something is trending, or you're seeing a lot of people post about the same kind of thing or theme, give her a go. Relevant and high quality. So images that are you, or full images of big teams, even multiple images. I've had a couple, some of my best performing posts were probably 10 images. So it's where you can click on and move over, not just the singular one, which is also incredibly powerful too. Stock photos are triggered. So those ones LinkedIn does see those. They do notice that they are stock photos, and you will reduce your score in terms of authority. So just a little nugget there. You also want to try and upload your photos as vertical versus horizontal. And the reason there is that it takes up more space in the feed. So the scroll time is, you have more eyeballs on your content for longer versus if it takes up less space in the feed. And then audience-centered posts. So whether that's an educational statistic on your graphic or an inspiring quote, that is a way to keep it less promotional and less of a, this person's probably just here to sell me something, but they're actually giving me the value that I came here for. The next type of post that we'll check out is, I believe, carousel posts. So carousels are different than images because you have to upload them as PDFs. I hope that LinkedIn fixes this eventually, because this is just a hurdle for everybody. The reason why that they perform so well is not only because you have to click through it, so it encourages engagement, but also because carousels are traditionally a lot more difficult to create. So where a video, you can film yourself, upload it to a tool that automatically does your subtitles, and then you post it. With carousels, you have to put in deep thought. You have to think about the design. You have to make sure that it's your on-brand colors. So there's a lot fewer carousels in your feed. So I highly, highly suggest to add this into your content strategy, because the impressions and the engagement are sky high for these. Make sure to use a strong hook on your first PDF or your first slide. Make sure that there's a clear and logical structure. So step 1 is on one page, step 2 is on another page. And then have a takeaway or a call to action at the end of it. On the last slide, visit our website for more information, send me a message to book a call, or ask them a question. What did you think? Share in the comments, encourage that engagement. And then the third type that I wanted to highlight, because I could talk about these different kinds of posts forever, is videos. As Brooke said, LinkedIn is favoring videos. And I've noticed it myself that videos tend to bring in a lot more leads. People seem to build a lot more trust with a moving, speaking figure versus that still image, especially when they're hearing from your clients or they're hearing from your franchisees specifically with you. It's a really awesome opportunity for folks to dig deeper and understand your personality. Start with a strong hook on, this is interesting. It looks like it copied my post, but same with videos. Start with a strong hook. So don't just say this video is about, because we're here, we know it's a video, right? Don't waste the time. Talk about it with a hook. Like, here's how to beef up your pipeline. This one's actually about Harry Potter. So I infused pop culture into it because that's a great way to retain and entertain your audience. So you'll also want to end every single video that you have with a mini intro about who you are. Don't waste the time up front. People want the value right away. That's how you hook them, and that's how they stay engaged. At the end of it is when you can say, hi, I'm Chantel Sumis. I'm a fractional CMO, and I'm here to help franchisors with their Fran Dev marketing strategy, or something along those lines. That way they know who you are and they know why they should reach out to you. All right, quick tip. So I know that authenticity is important, right? And we're here to grow a realistic, supportive, engaging community, but we're also here to grow our careers, right? So understanding why you're on LinkedIn and having that goal in your purview is really important to help structure all of your content going forward. It's great to have a mixture, but again, I mentioned this, introduce yourself and the topics you cover at the end of your post. So if it's an image, put it at the bottom. You know, if you haven't met me yet, I'm Chantel Sumis, and I can help you with XYZ. Really easy, very simple, but that's why people want to understand if they should follow you or not. If you're sharing the right topics, then absolutely. All right, and then I'll run through this pretty quickly. So why does LinkedIn hate me? I think I speak for many of us when I share that we've all noticed our impressions go. Well, it could be because of many reasons. LinkedIn's AI-powered algorithm, it really shifted to targeting people who follow you to the right people who follow you and your second and third degree connections. There's also increased content saturation. So even though only 1% of users use the platform actively, that 1%, it continues to trend with the growing number of users on the platform. So there's a lot more saturation. There's a lot more competition to get more eyeballs on your content. There's also a lot more ads. LinkedIn's prioritizing ad placement. So on your scroll, instead of seeing 2 or 3 ads, you're probably seeing 20, all within the confines of the sprinkled without the other posts. And then there's also seasonal and behavioral factors, right? At the end of the year, people are usually on it a little more looking for jobs, or also the beginning of the year. In summer, people are sometimes stepping away from work a little more often and tuning into social media a little bit more frequently. So those are a couple more things to keep in mind. One thing that I didn't include here is that LinkedIn's algorithm is really trying to extend the shelf life of each individual piece. So a lot of us are used to looking at our impressions at the end of the day and seeing, oh, how did this perform? But we need to start correcting that behavior to review it at the end of the week, because you're getting more eyeballs on it and more engagement over time.
I agree 100%. The long tail of LinkedIn is incredible. Like, I will see posts go on for weeks, to be honest. Oops, there was a LinkedIn notification. Sorry. But they will go on for weeks. And I agree with you. I used to get so hung up in, oh, I only got this many in a day. And then things just take off. And as the AI starts to see, oh, people are engaging with it, or people find this useful, great, we're going to start like showing this more and more.
Okay. Yeah, I agree. The posts, like I was talking to Brooke the other day and I said, why isn't my post doing well? And she's like, just give it a minute. And like a week later, it's still going. So I don't, it's crazy, but okay. So now we have some insider info. So thanks to Chantel and Brooke for sharing your insights. We do have relationships with people who have blue check marks and get some of the stuff with LinkedIn directly, and Chantel has some great connections as well. So we put all of these things together, and we're going to kind of share what we know, and also kind of dispel a couple of myths. But like Brooke said earlier, don't use ChatGPT to write comments or your entire post. You can use it to create ideas and to give you a foundation, but do not use it to write your entire post. LinkedIn is favoring video to combat all of the AI generated posts. And basically from what we understand is that, you know, video takes time, kind of like Chantel was saying with the PDF, video takes time and it's the most authentic that you can do. And so that's how they know that video is kind of skirting around the AI issue. One of the things is, and I know franchising is good at this, but don't tag people or brands in the opening lines. LinkedIn thinks it's spammy, especially if it's in the beginning. Don't tag more than 5 people And this one's a pet peeve of mine, only tag relevant people. So if I know a lot of people are tagging people who they think are influencers or think that will give their post legs, but if that person isn't going to comment or if they're not relevant to the post, don't tag them. It won't help you. It'll actually be considered spammy. Don't use more than 3 to 5 relevant hashtags. If you use multiple links, LinkedIn thinks it's spammy. So LinkedIn comments, we were having a little bit of a conversation earlier today about the link in the post versus link in the comments, my goodness. And also multiple links causes an issue. Basically, the idea is that LinkedIn wants you to stay on LinkedIn. So when you give an outside URL for you to leave LinkedIn, they're not going to prioritize that. LinkedIn loves it when you summarize things. For instance, if you do the work for the reader. I will say that LinkedIn also thinks that paragraph writing is chunky. And so people who are looking through LinkedIn or scrolling, they're looking for points. And so they're looking for quick reads. And that's why you see a lot of people go line by line or bullet points. And so consider that when you're writing your posts as well. Try not to post more than 1 time a day. If you post more than that, LinkedIn considers you spammy. Aim for 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., Monday through Friday, like Brooke said. Commenting thoughtfully helps your algorithm. I did a post on this a few days ago. I actually shared someone else's article. But the more thoughtful you are on your comments, it actually helps your algorithm. So don't just, throw an emoji in there or like, this is cool or good job. Actually be thoughtful and strategic in how you comment on your post. And then the first 90 minutes is referred to as the golden 90. This is kind of where LinkedIn, they do their initial sweep of your post, whether to see if it's spammy or not. And then the next 90 minutes is basically where they're going to see like how many people are engaging with your post, how is the community reacting to it? And as more and more people engage in those first 90 minutes, that's where LinkedIn will determine if your post will, be prioritized more. So this might be controversial, but it is not against LinkedIn's terms of service. It's some people recommend engagement pods off platform. So that's where in the first 90 minutes, you get a group of friends or colleagues who are relevant to your audience, and you share the post and you ask them to comment. It is only against LinkedIn terms of service if you do it within LinkedIn, but it is not against LinkedIn terms of service if you do it off LinkedIn. So good or bad, controversial or not, take it for what you will, but it could help your first 90 minutes. Do you guys have anything else to throw in about any of these points?
No, I think you got them all. Those are some good ones. Hopefully people are screenshotting that because this is gold.
Yeah, I will share this too for anybody who signed up for the actual webinar on the page. All right, we've got a couple of dispelling myths. Editing your post right after you post doesn't matter. So I know that's been going around for a while. I think that's probably relevant to the golden 90, but it doesn't matter if you edit your post in the first 90 minutes. It's not going to affect the prioritization of your post. And then long post versus short post doesn't matter. This is kind of what we said previously about, just test. Brooke said test to format, video, PDFs, long, short, paragraph, not paragraph. You'll see what starts to work for you. All right, before we get to our questions, we have a few more things left. We wanted to share our favorite things that help us, kind of shine on LinkedIn. So Brooke, I'll let you go first.
Yeah, I recently started doing video. I think I've been doing video for a year now, and it took me 8 months to realize maybe I should get some decent microphones and some lights. So those wireless mics, I think were $9 on Amazon. They're so easy. You just like plug it into the bottom of your phone and then you just hold it or whatever. So I think that's a game changer. And then I use CapCut to put the video together with the captions. And then a ring light, again, less than $10 on Amazon, I don't have one on right now. But it just kind of helps the quality of the video, I think. And then I use hi Brittany, I use the voice memo app. And like I said at the beginning, it's my companion on walks. It's almost like, your epiphanies occur in the shower. Mine occur when I'm walking my dog. And so I always voice memo things while I'm walking Kip.
Kip. I love that. What a
He's a
sweet name.
boy.
Oh, the things I can't live without, that tripod. I mean, I think we've all tried to lean our phones against something or another, and then you're halfway through your recording and it falls or something. So that tripod's amazing. This one is only $9, so you can't really beat it. You know, you don't have to spend a fortune. My Blink teleprompter is my saving grace for video content. And the reason why is I tend to stammer, stutter, or hyperfixate on my extremely northern accent. So having a script to just read through helps me so much. It helps me cut the fluff. It keeps editing really simple because it's just a cut and dry process. And then Kling AI is fantastic. So I just discovered this a few days ago when I was those kits, those starter kits, action figure things are all the rage on LinkedIn. And I wanted to up the ante by animating it. And I found Kling AI, which basically animates your images, your still images, and it makes it so cool and it looks so real. So Kling AI is really cool, especially if you use Aragon AI and you get some headshots going. You can easily turn that into B-roll by animating it.
That's cool.
Yeah, I want to try out that Blink teleprompter.
Yeah.
And for me, we mentioned a couple of these, I think, already, but Opus Pro, that's a great AI tool for uploading long form video. And then it'll automatically, like within under 10 minutes, it will create short little snippets of video. You can use your own branding and you can have captions, emojis, all sorts of things. So it really kind of breaks up your content so that you can put it in bite-sized chunks of content so that you can repurpose for lots of different things. ChatGPT, of course, we all know. Again, don't use it to write your whole post or your comments. Just use it to get ideas. And we will actually share a couple of more prompts that Brooke and both Chantel use here shortly. And then I use InShot for video editing on my phone. I don't know why, it's just the easiest one that I found to use. So that's just, you can pull pictures together, you can pull live pictures together, video, all of those things, and just create videos. So we have links to all of these when we share the presentation. All right, and then in the sorry, a few more of our favorite things. We won't go through all of these, but here's some people to follow and some podcasts. Here is this this podcast, the 4-step formula to go viral on LinkedIn, and then a few other people to follow if you're so inclined. And then here's a couple of prompts. Chantel, you want to go through this? Is this one yours? Yep.
Sure. Yeah, I can share it really quickly. So at IFA, we hosted Stay in Your Lane and Train in Your Lane. We hosted a CFE course on AI for your franchise. And we designed this personal branding prompt that you can put into ChatGPT that really understands who you are. So you ask it to act as a branding strategist who combines expertise of a career coach, marketing expert, and storytelling consultant. Then you're going to go down further, develop a clear personal brand that effectively communicates who I am, what I stand for, and the unique value I bring. Then you ask it to consider your background, experiences, personality traits, and aspirations. And then how it's going to do that is it's going to ask you 10 questions, one at a time, so it's not overwhelming. And it will customize each question that it feeds you based on the information that you tell it. So it really does have this way of building something extraordinary based on how you answer it.
Awesome.
That's the same one.
Yep. All right, so we have 11 minutes left. I know there was a glitch on where this went live. So I'm not sure that we were able to carry everybody over, but for anybody who did register for the event, we will send this out to you guys. But we do have some comments here in the chat. So Karen Winning is asking, and I think this is about the long tail. I'm going to move that, it's distracting. This is about the long tail post of the challenge of people posting about events, like saying they're going to an event or they're going somewhere, but then they don't see it until a week later. Is there any strategy of posting, like how far in advance of an event you should be posting, or any thoughts on that from either of you?
I think there's no rule saying you can't post more than once about it. So I would like to do, maybe 3 posts to drive interest as early as a month in advance, maybe 3 weeks in advance. And then you can always do the one that's like, hey, I'm going to be here tomorrow. Can't wait to see you all, even though it might not be seen by everybody. So I don't think there's any right or wrong strategy, but 3 weeks in advance is usually ideal. I've very seldom see a post in my feed that's over a month old.
Me either. And I think creating an event too helps, like we did for this event. So I think if you can RSVP to something, I think that also helps as well. But I agree, 3 weeks in advance is probably good.
All right, here's another question from Jordan. Is linking in the comments no different to algorithms than in the post itself?
This one is a debate stirrer. I feel like we all kind of have our ideal of what really happens. You know, we can only assume unless we talk to somebody that actually writes the algorithm or the machine learning engine. But from what I've seen personally is that anytime I share a link in the post itself, the post tanks. So that's just my personal experience. Everyone can share what they think works best for them.
Yeah, I think because Steve wanted clarification. He's like, just tell me, is it in the post or in the comments? And I know several people that do it in the comments. For me, I'll like, to be honest, I write my posts ahead of time. I write everything Sunday and I write them all and then I schedule them. And I do not see any decline in impressions. I see zero decline in engagement. Some people are like, don't schedule. It doesn't affect me. But half the time I'm like, link in comments. And then guess who goes and forgets to put the link in the comments? This girl. So, but yeah, I think it's debatable. And I think no one is going to know truly the answer. But I guess I would favor link in comments based on Chantel's experience. She's got more followers than me.
Yeah, I've tested it and I don't know that it has made that much of a difference, but I did not know about the multiple links. So I know that I've shared a Spotify link and a YouTube link. And so I think that's interesting. So I think I'll definitely put those in the comments to avoid being spammy from the get-go.
Yeah.
All right. Do we have any other questions?
I was trying to look through. I
think we got them all.
I think we got them all.
Let's see over here.
Yeah.
Many screenshots. Okay, Abby. We'll send it to you as well. And thank you all for coming. Sorry you had to come hunt for us. A little glitch on our first LinkedIn Live, but that's okay. We made it live. So thank you all for coming. I really appreciate it. If you have any more information on Hello Mastermind, go to hello-mastermind.com. Thank you, Brooke and Chantel, for making our first LinkedIn Live. So great and so informative, and really appreciate all of you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.